I call the meeting to order at 6:01. I hope everybody has air conditioning, knowing that Andrew doesn't, but hopefully the rest of you are reasonably comfortable and nobody passes out during the meeting. I just heard on the radio it's 103 in Beaverton, so that's pretty extreme. We have Victoria with us tonight, so I think we will do introductions, but first we'll start with the disclaimer. Kathleen, did you have something first?
No, I wanted to make sure that we said the disclaimer.
Oh, okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Library Advisory Board meeting. We're glad you're here. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Due to recent changes to Oregon Public Meetings Law, our meetings will now be recorded. Once the video is processed by the city's web team, it will be published on our board's webpage for public viewing. Public attendees are invited to participate in the meeting at the designated opportunities. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, use the raise hand function on Zoom to indicate so, and we will unmute your microphone for you to share. You can also use the chat feature at any time or submit a question using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with introductions. Give Victoria a chance to meet everybody because several of us are new since she last attended a meeting. I think what we'll do is give your 30-second or 1-minute elevator speech, whatever you'd like to say about yourself, personally or professionally, and you can weigh in on this topic. What do you do when you're not enjoying a book you're reading? Do you stop reading it? Do you plow through to the end, especially if it's fiction and you want to find out what happened, even though you don't like it? Or you got a recommendation for it from a friend or somebody and you feel obligated to read it? Or, you know, if it's nonfiction and maybe it isn't what you expected it to be about, do you stop reading? Do you continue reading? How much time do you give it? And whatever you want to say about that is fine with me. It's something I grappled with for a while. And I'll start. I'm John Henshell. This is my 6th and last year on the board due to term limits. And I've lived in Beaverton since 1999. Victoria, we'll do you next. You have a new title.
Yep. Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the library. Let's see. Oh, before that, just for context, I was the Youth Services Manager. I was the Interim Director for a while. And then for your question, I keep trying. If I don't really like a book, I keep trying, and then eventually I still have to know the end. So I kind of quickly skim read to the end, because if I really got past the first chapter, I need to know the end. That's my answer. I'm sticking with it. Nice to meet you.
Andrew.
I'm Andrew Love. I have been in Beaverton for a couple of years now. So far as the book goes, if I'm not enjoying it, I'll normally set it aside and do something else for a couple of days, then come back and try it again. I'll eventually finish it, but it might take a lot longer because I'll keep doing that. Maybe I'll read a different book and then come back to it. I'll finish it, but I don't necessarily do it in any sort of speed. So I just got to keep watching the expiration date.
May.
Hi. I would like when I come across a book that I starting from chapter 1 and that's not so interesting, I will stop it at once. Don't waste my time. I'll find another book. And sometimes I may read the ending and see if it is arouse my interest again. But most of the time I will just stop it. Don't waste time. There's so many books in the world. That's all.
Sara L.
Hello, my name's Sara. This is my 2nd year on the advisory board. My first year was pretty much entirely virtual. So I'm looking forward to in-person meetings again. And I am 100% with May. I'll read I don't know, like 50 pages of a book. And if I'm not feeling it, I'm just gonna put it down. I used to make myself power through it and it rarely paid off. You know, I think I just trust my judgment up front there.
Okay, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm an alternate. This year is my first year on the Library Advisory Board. And I have tried many strategies. I have done the power through it. And I agree with Sarah, rarely does that work out. That I am thinking, yeah, I'm glad I went through those 800 pages that really were a waste. I want my time back. So I try to stick through with it. But if I can't get into it, I abandon the book and move on. I agree with May. There's way too many books in the world to waste my time on one that's really I'm not enjoying.
Good. Kathleen A.
Hello, I am Kathleen Allen. I am the Vice Chair of the Library Advisory Board. This is my third year. I don't know how long I've been in Beaverton. I don't remember when we moved here. It's been somewhere between 4 and 6 years. What I do with books, it really depends on how much time I've already invested. If I start it and it's not happening, then I just set it aside. But if I've put in a third of the book, I will plow through. I am very competitive on Goodreads. So I want to make sure that if I have put some time into a book, then I finish it so I can count it as having been read. So that's my strategy.
Sara R.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I had been with the board for the 5 years. For the book part, I will keep aside the book for a few days and then read it again. If I find it interesting, I will finish it off. Otherwise, it's like return it immediately. That's Thank you.
Okay, Kathleen P.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. Also, we've been in Beaverton since 2010. I moved here to go to library school, and we've been here since. I think sounds like I'm a little like Andrew and Kathleen A. I'm very stubborn, and I like to tick things off a list and, I don't know, for what I consider the wrong reasons, I will stick with a book, even if I feel angry the whole time, or I don't know. Just, I gotta plow through the thing. I'm a finisher, I guess.
That's good. It's interesting. I probably should have also asked, do you ever regret finishing a bad book? Kristen, do you want to weigh in on our topic?
I was just going to say the same thing. Now I'm curious, like, what was the worst book that you read through that you regret? I want to know.
Interesting books are very interesting topics we can remember, but the worst ones, it's like, forget it.
For me, I had heard all about The Goldfinch and so many people loved it. It was supposed to be the best book. And for me, it was, I did not enjoy that book. And it was like 800 pages long.
No. Wow. Atlas Shrugged for me.
Atlas
Shrugged. Ayn Rand, I think her name is. Just was like, I felt very masochistic reading that. I don't know. It was very.
I've read it twice.
Oh my goodness gracious.
She was a propagandist, though. I mean, so that's easy to understand people having polarized opinions about her work.
Was.
Interesting. Kristen?
Yeah, so I will put it down. But I have found that I can start a book, not be into it, put it down, and then 2 years later pick it back up again and think it's like the best thing that's ever been written. So I think it has a lot to do with me and where I am and what I'm interested in and what I can put up with at the time. But yeah, I typically, if it doesn't grab me, I move on. And I've worked for the library for 27 years, and I've lived in Beaverton for 3 years.
See, but that justifies me hoarding books. Like my boyfriend's like, you haven't read that book and it's been on the shelf for years, but I might like it in 2 years.
That's interesting. I'll bet everybody collects books and takes forever to get around to reading them. Okay, let's move on to the minutes. I hope everybody had a chance to read them. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Sarah? And a second. Kathleen? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi, Kristen.
Raise your hand, that would be better.
I'm so sorry. Which Sarah motioned to accept?
Oh,
Sarah R.
so,
Not me. I wasn't
I
here.
wasn't looking at the screen. Okay, thank you so much. So Sarah R motioned and
Kathleen A.
Kathleen A.
okay. We have no Glenn tonight. He is in Illinois with his father, and so we have Victoria in his stead. I don't know if you had planned to do a director's report or just cover the specific topics that we have on the agenda.
I had just planned to do the specific topics, but I can come up with a few updates if you want.
Okay, well, mostly I was trying to plan the time.
Okay,
So that's fine.
see you.
And we have no Councilor Sansucci tonight. So we'll rely on the city news, which is fairly light this month as we're awaiting the new city administrator. It starts in a couple of weeks, I think.
I have a
So
quick
we'll move on.
I have a quick question. Is library open tomorrow due to the hot weather? Are you open tomorrow supporting the community for the heat waves or high temperature?
Yeah, we're a cooling center, so we're open our regular hours, and then after hours, we are open, I think tomorrow's till 10. It's just the Kathy Stanton in the lobby, so you can't use the library that late, but we do have a cool area open. And then the city just opened an overnight shelter for a couple nights during this as well.
So the branch is not open. Only the city library is going to be open tomorrow for the cooling part. Yes.
So what's not
It's
open?
open during the day.
For the branch, are you open for the branch library in Charlesville?
The branch is open, it's regular. Oh yeah, because Thursday's closed there. Correct. They're still closed on Thursday, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Victoria, do you have any information on the foundation news from them?
Do I have any, sorry, you're just a little garbly.
Oh, any news about the foundation?
I do not have any updates from the foundation.
Okay. And Kathleen, the Friends.
The big news from the Friends is that they are planning a book sale. That is the thing that they are trying to, last I checked, they were tentatively having dates. They were trying to figure out if it's going to be an especially long book sale or if they're going to do a bag sale or what they were going to do. So the big news is they're not sure if they're going to keep the store open or if it's going to be closed, when the setup dates are going to be. So they're working on that, but they're planning on having a book sale unless, you know, Delta COVID is a big thing at the end of the month. Otherwise, they have a priority list for the grant money that they're bringing in, such as a website update, laptops, online sales software, an upstairs air conditioner, and a pickup truck. So they are trying to prioritize. They're getting all these funds from grants and everything that they're applying to, and so they're trying to figure out how they're actually going to spend that money. And budget changes. So Amazon has been up. The store is back to pre-COVID levels. The sales are pretty much unchanged. They have lost some revenue through Ebooks, Thrift Books. Thrift Books has stopped taking books, which was a big part of the revenue, and they're searching for another retailer that they can send boxes of books to. So that is the update from the Friends. Do you have any questions, anyone?
Okay, I'm sorry, when did you say the book sale was?
They were planning on setting it up from August 25th to the 29th. They're hoping to open on August 30th through September the 5th. So those were the tentative dates that were last month. I don't know if they've changed in the interim.
Okay. Very good. So Victoria, I had asked Glenn last month if we could get an update on the Library of Things for this month, this being the start of the fiscal year. And I trust you have consulted with Michelle and have a list of things that are coming.
I did not know it was specifically about things that were coming, but I do have a report for you.
Okay.
Okay, let me share the screen. I think I'm doing this right. Can you now see the Library of Things document? Okay. So Michelle, she put a little report together so that you all could kind of see how Library of Things, it has been growing. It launched in 2018 with 30 items, and can you all see that it has grown several times to where we are now with 90 things, and then she separates out board games because we have a lot of board games. So 90 things and 63 board games to date, and we have multiples of items, so that's actually 396 items. And then she also just kind of talks about how when the pandemic started, that we ended up, we stopped purchasing materials, and we stopped cataloging the Library of Things items at that time. But now, as we're moving forward, circulating of the items has been, because we launched that BCL to Go, the curbside service, and we also had to figure out how to get all the items out that way. And then we launched Grab and Go, and now we're look like a perfectly normal library if you haven't been it. And so those, it took a little while in there to figure out how to circulate the Library of Things items. However, I believe we were one of the only libraries at that time actually circulating their Library of Things. A lot of them just put them in unavailable status. Also, she wanted to share this patron feedback that I'm not sure you all have seen. It says, "To the good folks at Beaverton Library, thank you for the guitar and letting me keep it for so long." So because if you'll remember, things renewed and renewed and renewed and renewed so long, that was the same for Library of Things. I've had the good fortune to find it available back in March, the day before everything shut down, and I played it so much during quarantine and it helped keep me sane. I've now renewed it several times, but it's time for it to come home. I've added I think that's called capo to the collection, so we returned it with that. Consider it a donation, and thank you for all you do for the community. So we have added, I think, some more games and puzzles during COVID. And one of the biggest things we added was mobile hotspots. So I think there's 18 at Maine, but there's some at Murray Shoals too. And they are checked out and have a small holds queue. So those quickly became very popular. And that's our newest thing. She also was just sharing with you all how the things have been checking out. They kind of peaked the month before COVID, And they're slowly trekking back up. A little graph. By the way, sorry, I'm having a chuckle because she's copying my graphs that you'll see a little later in my presentation. So, little side chuckle there. You'll see it, they use the same data. So that was her report. And then she even, and Kristen can send this to you if you want to read it in more detail, if she hasn't already. And then she had another Excel that showed in more detail the difference between the juvenile items circulation and the adult items. So that's a lot, but it sounds like what you wanted to know was what are some of the things that are coming out soon. We did actually purchase a bunch of juvenile games and floor puzzles in June. And we also, there are some things that are larger that Michelle just hasn't unfortunately had the time to get out that we own, like a paddle board, for example, a blow up paddle board. But a lot of what I see down there waiting is games, and then there are things like STEM robots and math learning items for children. And then there is an iPad application, a learning iPad application that has various things that go with it. I think like one of the ones we have out is the kids pretend they're a pizza shop and they make little pizzas, and they're learning math while they're doing that. So there's some various Osmo related items waiting to be cataloged. We definitely have a lot of things to be cataloged, because every time you catalog something new, especially if it's a game, you have to figure out, in a sense, how to play it so that you know which pieces need to come back and which pieces is it okay if someone loses one of those 50 cards, because if you've checked one out before, it has that list on the front, like it has 8 pawns, and then it might say various cards. And so when staff get it back, they don't count any of those cards because, well, that's tedious, and you don't necessarily need every single one to still play the game. And then a lot of things lose a piece, and so there's some backup copies of things so that the item can be put back into circulation. So that's what I happen to know, but I'm happy to take questions. I actually purchased for the juvenile library.
Good. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
So when do you expect, so you've been checking out items again for almost a year now. When do you expect the volume to get back up to where it was pre-pandemic?
I think I'm going to talk a little bit about that when I talk about physical circulation of things. But I think really for the library of things, you had to be pretty savvy before Maine opened in January, right? To know and look on the catalog for that. And so I think that's where you see and hear, you see that start to jump up more in February, going up and up, because once you're in the library, I walked by the shelf before I came up today, and I think there's maybe 10 items down there right now, because it is that popular, but I'm sure there's at least 10 items and mending for some reason. That means it's been missing a pawn or something.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, and these items only cover circulation. So a lot of the items could have been out in April of 20, and you just don't see those numbers because they just keep them.
Well, so yeah, so what was interesting about how WCCLS did that is it was a renewal on the back side of things, which means you're right, Andrew, even though they renewed them a few times, we did not kind of get a circulation credit for that. Yeah. So yeah, there were a lot of them in use, like the guitar, right? They just kept it for a long time.
Yeah, I had checked out the keyboard for like our all staff because we had a musician coming. So I checked out the keyboard and then I brought it home and then I had it for 9 months. It was awesome. It was great.
Well, and if you remember, we weren't allowed to return items for quite a while.
Actually, the book drops here never ever stay at the main library. Just for a couple of days at Marie Scholl did they close. But it did take us a while to get a process in place to return the library of things because you're not supposed to put them in the drop, but you know, some fit. Questions?
Good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next topic then, which is the summer reading program.
Oh,
And you had something you wanted to say about that.
let's see. Let me just get to the right slide. Sorry, I have two different computers in front of me. Okay, now you see a slide? Yeah? No?
We still see the library of things.
Need the statistics.
Oh, this is
You
interesting.
might have to stop sharing that.
Okay, let's try that. Stop sharing that and I'll share. I don't, I use Teams more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, so summer reading is going very well. I don't know if you know that right before COVID hit, we were actually changing our summer reading program for kids and teens a lot. One of the main things we changed was that you used to have to sign up and then come back and finish. So we took away the sign up process for kids and teens, basically trying to remove a barrier. And we changed a ton of small things that I won't go into. But this actually helped us a lot in COVID because we only needed one data point. So it really set us up well to get the information we need, but not have to have those two separate barriers. And the way we do this is we get the information at the end, and the logs that the kids and teens are using actually tell us exactly how they got that. So if they got it at the library, if they got it at a free lunch site, if they got it at summer school, we know all of that because there's a little code on the log. And so we don't need them to tell us that the paper's telling us all the info we need. So we're having a pretty good year so far. Right now, the stats on the screens is where we're at, and because all of our numbers are finishers now. So we have, I put this on here at like 4 p.m., 1,703 babies to 5th graders have finished. And there's Maine's and Marie Scholl's number. And one of the things that we did this summer was elementary schools had something called Camp Achieve. And it was for 4 weeks in July. And our summer outreach crew visited 7 camps every day for 4 weeks. And part of that, they signed up the kids for summer reading and finished them. And then we also take summer reading out to some of our Library on Wheels sites. And during COVID, that program, which visits daycares, has still been dropping off books every other week, but hasn't been providing in-person story time. So any questions about kids summer reading? Okay.
Sorry, it goes until the 15th, right?
Yes, Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then teens, we have had 424 complete so far, and that's 6th grade to just graduated high school. And then there's the Maine and Murray Shoals breakdown. One of the things when we changed our how things looked for summer reading is, you know, a lot of families print our information off the web, but a lot of people don't have their own home printer. So we started letting kids and teens make their own log at home. And so that has been very popular. And when I was looking at those stats, I noticed that of those 400 and some, 29 had made their own log at home. And 56 had participated at an outreach site. So a summer camp or part of we visit the Beaverton School District's the meal program, their free lunch program weekly. Questions about teens? Okay. And then adults, we're doing Read to Feed, and woohoo, yesterday the goal was completed, and 135 meals, thanks to the sponsorship of our friends group, will be donated to the Meals on Wheels program, and that reading helped us feed 135 people. And if you haven't done that program before, you do not need to sign up for it unless you want to participate in the WCCLS contest side, and you just submit your reading time, and they chart that and have these really cute graphics where they fill them in, like you can see the little pie shapes there. Questions about adult summary? So one of the nice things about summer reading now is all 3 of these programs are all something that my team provides. So we don't have to worry about like what's adult doing, what's teen. We all work together to put it on. And then I think that helped us a lot, because as we were even thinking about putting information out for it, we constantly thought of all the different audience levels where it just kind of ran independent of each other prior to that. Okay.
I have a question overall about the summer reading program. So what have you learned that you're going to do differently next year?
Well, we're in COVID mode, so hopefully next year, especially for the kids and teens, this meant we've had to distribute the final book a lot differently. We have a menu. So one thing is we're hoping we can have more book choice again next year, just because kids and teens like to read different things, right? And they basically, based on their age grade level, have about 5 to 10 choices right now. So I hope we get back to that. A couple things we've already learned is at those summer campsites, even though this could potentially make our statistics go down, we want to actually give them a book at the beginning of camp instead of the end. It was a lot of work to do that finishing process at the camp. So we want to give those 500 students, if they do that program again, the book at the beginning, and then we'll give them a log, and if they happen to complete it and visit the library, then we'll happily have a second book. But that way we're kind of getting a book in their hands early on during the summer, and also don't have to use one of our visits to complete all of the paperwork, when we can be encouraging them to read and having kind of reading fun with them instead. Another thing I think we'll try to do next year, making our summer reading log bigger, is especially the kids ones, try to make it bilingual English-Spanish, because we have to carry 2 versions around with us. This is the first year, I think, we had the handout for both teens and adults also in Spanish. It did not get used as much. But we did have that available in Spanish this year too.
What's the deadline for submitting data for the adult summer reading?
The 15th. And it's always good to still submit, even though we've made our goal, because sometimes a surprise sponsor will buy the additional whatever we're reading for.
I guess I was wondering what in comparison to last year, were your numbers similar?
Thank you. I have that right here. I'm flicking through this so I can see your all's faces. So last year, we were almost the same with teens. And we did end up meeting our adult goal last year, but we did have to extend it to the 31st of August. The reason we end on the 15th is summer reading is a lot of work, and we also need to take some vacations. And you probably know this, but most of Oregon goes on vacation in August. So the 15th works out really well because we get some August time for everyone to do it, but we also get a break for us. And we notice it kind of slowly falls off from there anyway. So then, but last year, because we didn't have the summer camps, we had 11,186 finishers. So we are at 17 something right now. So, but that's, I think, a lot due to that. What's interesting is, because I mean, even without the summer camps, we'll have surpassed, but I think it's interesting. Last year, you know, parents didn't really have a lot of options. So even though I think we'll fully pass all of that, even with summer camps, you didn't hear as much about it this year. Like the families who knew about it, they just kind of picked it up. They came in. It wasn't, you know, like such as big of a thing. But last year they're like, you know, please summer reading, like how do we, right? Because they were really looking for activities. So by comparison to 2019, which would be a COVID-free year, we had almost 3,000 finishers. So, you know, probably we'll be at about two-thirds by the time we finish this year. And that will match my circulation presentation. I like numbers, so you can ask me about them all
Well, we like numbers too.
day.
Any more questions for Victoria about summer reading? All right, then we'll move on to circulation.
Okay, so I unfortunately put these in the wrong order, so let me just start over here. Oh, all my buttons are covered with Zoom things. Okay, I'm gonna stop just for a second so I can get this back on slide. Okay. Oh, dang it. Go backwards. Yay. Okay. So circulation. Oh, that's a fun topic. So I brought you some information. Oh, I put the wrong year here. So this is the information from the previous year to just kind of show you all. Can you see the side thing? Let me see if I can do this.
Yes.
Okay, to kind of show you all how things were looking comparatively across the board here. So one of the things you'll notice is that the circulation of physical items was down about 30%, but the circulation of e-content items was up 37%. So I just wanted to share that with you to give you some context of where physical circulation is, but that e-readership has gone up a lot. So this was the previous year. And then What I've been tracking, because I think it's an excellent measure in so many ways, is I've been tracking the physical circulation of our items. So when you see a circulation report, you're getting 3 different numbers combined in there. You're getting the physical circulation actually checked out at our desk, you're getting the renewals, and you're getting the e-content. So if you think about those things, the physical circulation, very likely, especially, I mean, gosh, we checked out grabbed people's holds for them, I think until like April. So that was a lot of touch points for staff. That grab and go and BCL to go model was much more staff intensive than running the library. And so because of so many touch points, right? So if we delivered your hold to the car and we did all those things for you. So we do have some self-sufficient patrons that come in, they grab their hold, they use the self-check, and they're out the door. But for the majority of people, there's some staff interaction, right? So physical circulation kind of talks about like how our actual materials are getting used and kind of shows like our staff interactions as well. Then renewals, like, that's great. We love when our books circulate and people want them longer, but that doesn't really cost us anything, right? In staff time. Occasionally people need help renewing, but, do you all know that auto renewals is getting turned on? Oh.
No.
Well, I don't know if this is a secret or not, but auto renewals is getting turned on on the 17th. Just don't release this video in time. And so then it'll just automatically renew if someone has it at their home on the day it was due. So renewals, great, we like them. I think they make up about 1/3 of our circulation every month, so we like them a lot. And then e-content is great, and e-content is purchased though by WCCLS. So we don't put staff time. We did when it was in the beginning. I was actually an ebook purchaser for the county, but since then they have staff that purchase those ebooks, right? So it doesn't really talk about staff time, with the exception, of course, often when someone is new to ebooks, we have to help teach them how to use their e-reader. So this is why I focus on physical circulation, because I think it can really show us how things are going. So this first graph here is the physical items checkout at Main. And you can see 2019 is a blue line. And so we kind of have, in any season, our ups and downs of circulation. July is always our busiest month, and that's because children are out of school. That's all children's circulation. In fact, about 55% of our circulation is children's material. And then COVID happened, orange. And then as Andrew spoke of, right, we weren't getting renewals or anything. So there was just like, you know, some staff maybe checking some things out. And then as we launched BCL to go, things started to go back up. And then now we're at 2021. And what I like to do is really compare us 2021 to 2019. And so right now, last month, we hit a new high, as expected in July, of how much we checked out, but also that percentage comparison. So we checked out 70% of the number of items we would have checked out in July of 2019. So being that we're still in COVID, that's amazing. And see, kind of comparable to the summer reading figures. Any question about Main circulation?
I had a couple there. I suppose this will be irrelevant going forward, but I'm wondering if renewals have gone down because people don't feel the need to renew items if they know that there are no fines.
Oh,
Have you
that's
looked at the data
interesting.
for that?
You know, I don't know if more things are going in lost status, but I can personally share. I got my first blue envelope ever. Has anyone ever got a blue envelope in the mail from the library? Well, that means they're billing you for the book. So as a parent, when your children check out like 60 items at once, yeah, when the fines went away, my brain kind of slowed down on checking those dates. So I'm sure you're right, John. I'm sure renewals went down. And what we saw a lot of after they stopped doing that final one more time renewal is like people that had those items at home during COVID, they completely forgot they had them. So you'd look up a title and let's say something super popular like a Dogman graphic novel for kids, and you'd see we have our 40 copies and like 10 of them were all due. I think it was like August 31st or something. They were all due at the same time. And those were people who had the item, and it was just, and I think for a while we weren't even sending those blue notices out. I think those came back on later. So trying to give everyone as much of a break as we could. But I think though, the guess with auto renewals is that it will actually, in a sense, cause us to have more renewals. So if you're like me, you're often bringing your book back on the day it's due. So it might trigger a renewal there for you when you brought the book back anyway. So maybe it'll be a wash over 3 years. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like that will cause circulation to grow.
Yeah, we don't mind that
just
too.
because.
Yeah.
So my other question is, in trying to compare the this year, past year to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
How many hours are we open, or what, I guess probably a better question is what percentage of hours are we open compared to what we were then, and how does the circulation correspond to that?
I don't know percentage, but at Maine right now, we are 4 less hours than previous. So there would have been 3 nights we're open 8 to 9, not heavy circulation times. But sorry, 7 to 8. And then we were also open 12 to 1 on Sunday, which I'm sure if you did a comparison Sunday to Sunday, you'd see a drop there because that was a very popular hour. And then at Murray Shoals, which I have a slide on, if you guys can see, they, of course, are not open on Mondays and Thursdays, but we are hoping to, see, I'm leaving in a director's report here. We are hoping to match our hours starting September 12th so that they will be open again. And at Murray Shoals here, you know, we everything we did, we started it at Maine first, and you can see that in their numbers. Like on this orange line here, we started, you saw the big bump up start here for BCL to go at Maine, but that service didn't start until late September. So then they get their bump up. Their grab and go service didn't start till the very last day of March. So then you start to see an increase. They were kind of becoming flat here, and you start to see an increase. And they are at 63% of their cert compared to July 2019, which is good considering that they have a lot less hours. But I was honestly hoping for a little more. It's a very kid-focused branch there. And so the shelves are really tight. And that's another kind of circulation thing that I could bring up. Like in a normal year, we have to usually exchange out about 60 volumes of materials. And during COVID, we didn't do that. So some of our shelves are overflowing, and we're gonna just have to come up with some metrics to compensate for that. We did not end up withdrawing as many books as we normally do.
I have a question. So how many times it will auto renew?
What?
How many times the auto renewal keep on going? So do you have a limit? Like 2 times it will auto renew and then it will stop, or it will be, what is the limit on that?
Sure, but I got an email about it today, so give me 30 seconds. I might have the answer. Okay, so let's see if they're gonna send an email about this on the 17th. Oh, it will actually renew materials 3 days before their due. I don't know that there's a limit. Kristen, have you seen anything about that?
I haven't. I think I just assumed that you get the same amount. You would get 4 renewals, and then that would be, then I'd want it back. But I haven't seen any details other than that email that came out today.
Most items can still be renewed up to 4 times. And you can't turn it off. And the system just tries that 3 days in advance. So if someone has a hold on it, it won't renew. Yeah, so it's 4 times, just like it is now. It's just doing it for you.
Okay.
There are libraries, I don't know, Multnomah County might be one of them that has forever auto renewal.
So I have a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
So when you do the auto renewal and the book is on hold, do you send an email to the, or how do you communicate to the member that the book is on hold? So when I renewal, I know that book is on hold sometimes, even if it is half read, or I try to complete it and return the book. But when it is doing on auto renewal, how do you communicate to the patron about the book is on hold?
I think you'll get all the same notices. So I get the notice a lot that some books are going to be due soon. So that kind of lists everything out that you need to return soon. And then all your other items, all of those same type of notices will come out. I'm trying to stay away from my second blue envelope ever. My son can't find a book. And so it's now 12 days overdue. And then I got another email letting me know that I needed, I think it's at 14 days, the blue envelope goes. So it's on my to-do list tonight to tear up the house.
But I think Sarah's point is a good one in that I get the notices that my items are going to be due in a few days all the time, but
yeah.
They never say that something is on hold
on
for
hold,
somebody
yes.
else. The only way I find out is if I go try to renew something and I can't.
Yeah.
And so I think it sounds like the WCCLS system needs to do something to let patrons know that somebody is waiting for something that they have out.
But what I'm saying is that you would get another one of the, I think you get that email twice maybe.
Twice.
I think I think it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, John, right, with fines and how I used my own blue envelope example of how I had to retrain myself because my brain was like, yeah, no fines. I think we'll have to do that same thing again where we have to start paying attention a little bit more to those, your items are almost due emails. Because we'll need to notice the dates on there or log into our accounts. But yeah, it'll be a transition for sure.
Is it possible for the email to say these books are hold and this won't be an auto renewal, and this the bottom books, the books that can be renewal?
No, unfortunately, yeah, it's a very complicated system. I hear you. They actually just redid all of those messages. I don't know if you've noticed, have much friendlier wording now.
That's true. I
I
have a
got one
follow.
sooner than I ever have before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
because
think
they're
it's
turning,
10 days.
yeah, they're turning things on. They're turning things back on, and they're putting things back. Like, so the holds used to sit on the hold shelf for 10 days, which was longer. They're going back to what they used to be, which is 7 days. So they're putting things back on track, which will honestly help with circulation. You know, every day a book's just sitting there extra. And at Murray Shoals, because they're not open 2 days, they actually sit a little longer because those closed days don't count in that overall 10 days. So we're very happy the 7 days are pick up your holds a little sooner.
I have a question on the graph or the circulation.
Mhm.
So during the March of 2020, I'm not seeing a spike in the circulation, because if you see that the libraries was going to close for a certain period of time and the shelves were empty, or everybody grabbed so many books, but I still see the graph as 35,000, or compared to 2019, it is the same. The book, if you see the shelves were empty in the child sections, those who went late to grab a book.
Yeah.
So how did the circulation is same?
So this is actually March right here. And so if you see that it's oddly above the blue line, it's because exactly what you're saying, Sara, is that so many families came in, and those last 3 days, I'm glad we were able to help the families, but they were also very stressful because it was very busy and people were very nervous about the virus, right?
Yeah.
But so, yeah, you're totally right. So that's what happened at Murray Shoals, and you'll see.
If you see, it is just on the blue line. So if you compare the data, it is almost the same with a few difference of thousands or anything that is on 2019 on not on the 2020 or 2020.
Yeah, and so I think what ended up happening there is we were not open for the whole of March, right? But yet we almost saw either the same circulation or slightly more, even though we weren't open for the whole month. So that's what you're seeing there, and then it just dives.
Yeah, I'm still not clear on that, because I think when myself went to the library to grab books, yeah, I found the shelves were empty. Almost all the chapter books or whatever the books that we were looking was grabbed, and I think the max out books were like checked out. So every family members were having how much max book they can have. So I'm not so sure about the circulation data for March 22. I can see the drop because all were checked out, and nobody, the library was closed, and you didn't had any circulation in the month of April or May. And that I can see, but only the month of March, because almost mid-March or late March we closed. We closed for a certain period of time.
One thing, if renewals don't count, then the shelves could be empty because everyone's renewing the stuff they already had out.
Yeah, but they checked out at the last week of March, yes, before the shutdown of that.
But the shutdown was like on March 18th or what?
17th.
Yeah. So basically, you're seeing almost the same circulation for a much shorter time, is what I'm saying. Let's see. Yeah, like,
See, if you go the data circulation data
yeah,
also
I'm
is
just looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
So for, let's see, yeah, so it definitely wasn't as much. Another thing I think to consider, like, I know you're familiar with our graphic novel collection, for example. What you're seeing on the shelf is actually about 20% of the collection.
Okay.
So at any given time, 80% of the collection is out. So then you go in the library and you see it almost empty, right? That really only represents like 15% of the collection. Because that's where we run into problems sometimes of the year, is because our collections are so big and the shelves are so right sized for most of the year. So I think maybe that also plays into some of what you're talking about by seeing those empty shelves, for sure.
Okay, so it means even with before the shutdown, it is the same amount of circulation that was during the pre-pandemic, or 2019, when, as you said, COVID-free 2019 circulation are the same.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I actually think that March number, now that I can see the numbers, is actually right here. Right there.
Yeah.
It's just hard to see. And in this graph, it's right here.
This is before pandemic. During this 2021 is no, we don't have any issues. 2020.
2020, this is at Marie Scholl. Sorry, I have a tape on my slide. It is right here. So let's see.
So the drop has happened during the start of the, like.
So like maybe this helps. And at the branch in February 2019, they basically, physical circulation was 32,000. In February 2020, it was 34,000. In March though of 2019, it was 34,000. A more popular month, spring break, right? But in March 2020, so closure month, it was 20,000. So, which was actually really good because we didn't make it all the way through that month.
Okay,
so
got it.
Surge up. Does that help?
Yeah.
Numbers help me because yeah, this does not look like a point there, but is actually a point.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, I like talking about numbers. So.
Any other questions about circulation?
I do have a question about the first slide.
Yeah.
Good. So, children's circulation e-content. And so I understand why it's e-content and not like e-books. There's lots of other things that can be checked out electronically.
Yeah.
So children, I'm sure that there are far fewer e-books for children. So what is the e-content that was being circulated?
Oh, and like, why is it also so big? Probably is a follow-up question. Yeah, there are fewer, though. In the last few years, they've really been able to increase presentation of things like picture books and graphic novels. They really struggled with that before, of how to present it. Like if you had a Kindle, you had to download it all differently, right? So there's been advancements in that. And then I would also say probably around the same timeline, most of the popular things are now available in kids' ebooks. So you saw that they were just putting more content into that. And why this number is so much larger than the other numbers is because of that project with the youth access cards. So some of this is students using it in their elementary classroom, for example. Like my kids, I didn't teach them how to use Sora. They figured it out, and they borrow ebooks all the time. And it was just, you know, someone said Sora at school, and I don't know how they figured it out. It was on their Chromebooks. So we're getting a lot of, is anyone familiar with Sora? That's like the Libby for elementary schools or schools. And basically what's really cool is they can see the books that the school district has purchased and then the books that WCCLS has purchased. So in one application, they can see materials that both institutions own. So, hope that answers the question.
So what is the limit for the kids book?
What?
What is the limit for the kids checkout? What is the limit of books they can check out on the elementary school app or school app?
So it was 5 and they bumped it up for 10 in COVID. I'm not sure if it's back to 5. What we'll do at the library though, if they come in and say they had an ebook, but they also want a physical book as the 5th item, is we'll do that at the circulation desk to let them have it, because the self-checkout computer can't tell the difference in that way. It's just you have a number of items.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a little bit disturbing though. I did see a study that found that children retain what they read much better from physical books than ebooks.
Yeah, that's why, you know, I'll get that, oh, will libraries still be around question, you know, and I'm just like, you know, it might look different, but one thing that I think will always be strong in libraries, even 15 years from now, is the board books, the picture books, the readers, those type of materials, even though they've made advancements in e-content, it's just not quite the same to sit down with your tablet with a child. And also, I think, right, it's a lot easier to let the child navigate the tablet themselves, where with a picture book, often you might be sitting next to them so they don't rip the pages, right? So I think that those collections, for a good reason, as you mentioned, John, will stay strong for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with the Victoria on that. So anytime with the ebooks or any electronics, the kids books won't change, and some of the touch and feel kids books definitely will not go down.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of juvenile fiction ebooks now. Mm-hmm. Not picture books, but the J and YA.
Yeah, definitely. And audio as well. And materials, actually the Cedar Mill Library provided some funds that helped get a lot of materials in other languages in the WCCLS collection as well.
I'm wondering, with ebooks so popular now because of the pandemic, are we seeing out of print materials come back as ebooks because they don't have the print run cost?
I don't know. That's a good question, but since I don't purchase for that area, I'm not sure. But you're right, it would be a lot easier.
It would be a wonderful thing if a lot of things could come back into print, because it's, I mean, not literally in print, but in e-print, because there's no cost to a publisher.
Yeah. Very, very little, yeah.
As an aside, John, check out Project Gutenberg if you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
I have.
Okay.
Good. Anything else on circulation, or have we exhausted the topic for today? All right. right, Victoria, did you have anything else? You said you had a little information that you might be able to
Let's
share.
see, let me just check. I know just where to check to see if there's any other good tidbits to share with you all. Okay, yes, so, oh, I think some fun things to share that I don't, oh, because you didn't have a meeting last month, correct?
No, we did last month. It was
Oh,
a
last month,
before
so
we
did you
closed.
hear about the long story times already? Oh, so we've been having long story times out. Unfortunately, we have to cancel tomorrow due to heat, but they've been outside under the big tree at the main library, and they have been very popular. I think one had 126 people at it. So popular that for the first 2 weeks of August, we were trying to do it 4 days a week for 2 weeks. So that has been really well received. And Kristen, were you at the Song Circle on Monday night? I heard that went really well too.
That was so fun. Yeah, we had our first in-person song circle since March of 2020. We switched to doing it virtually, and we've been going strong virtually, but we were able to meet on Monday night in person on the lawn. We had 30 people show up, and it was so good to see everybody in person.
And we also are testing out a baby story time inside the library right now. We're gonna pause that in September because of cases, but and we're also using our meeting room for that to give some more space. I think the big thing that last week was all about was masks, because the city put the requirement back on as of August 2nd. So if you haven't been by, well, I guess the governor's making it that way anyway, but so, you know, a lot of folks were just used to coming in for that month or so without their face covering. So we handed out a lot of them and have been giving out a lot of reminders, but I think probably with the state one now, that will become less and less.
Just tell people Delta is ready when you aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, activated the cooling center more this summer than I think ever before. Oh, and then I don't know how much was shared last month that so BCL to go is no longer, but for people who have things like mobility issues, they are able at the main library to use another service called BCL Pickup. And I think we've had now about 10 people use that service where they pull their car into the loading dock and they can call the number and we'll bring the holds out, because we did a survey and found that there were some reasons that it would still be good to have a service to help some people who couldn't come in the library. I think those are the big things.
Good, thank you very much. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah. I was
Always
actually
happy to have
excited. I'm
you.
like, I'll do it.
Actually, there was one other thing that
Yeah.
I'll bug you with since you're here, because Glenn has not gone into great detail about this with the reorganization. So what are your responsibilities under this new alignment?
Oh, are you ready for this? Okay, stretch. So I'm community engagement, and that means I am in charge of all collection development for all ages. So children, teen, and adult, purchasing and withdrawing and maintaining material at both locations. So that's one huge piece. Then I have outreach, which includes summer outreach, which we have kind of a special crew that works on, our library on wheels, so the daycare. We have Araceli, who provides outreach to early literacy, for early literacy and to Spanish-speaking families. And then tabling. So if someone has an event and they want the library to come, and then we just got funded a part-time position to have someone who will provide outreach to adults in the community, and we're focusing on new immigrants, new families to the area, low literacy and senior facilities with that position. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. And also summer reading. And then there's other things. So patron communication. So the website, social media, all the sign changes that you've seen over COVID. I don't make all of those signs, but I coordinate that work. And oh, I know I'm forgetting something huge here. Story time. So I no longer do programming, but I am still in charge of early literacy and story time. So we have workshops for parents and childcare providers. And then I'm sure you've heard about the popularity of our YouTube videos during this time. And so that falls under me for social media. So a lot of semi-random things, John. But we're still getting one more supervisor to actually make this reorganization finished. It is still not finished. That job closed on Friday. So I am excited. This started in gosh, early 2020. So I'm very excited to be able to have time specifically in my position. I also did a lot of stuff with Grab and Go when that was up, starting the Inside of Library and just kind of being the main project manager for that while it was coming online. So that was
Well, good job. I think it worked wonderfully.
Have you seen our cool new t-shirts?
Yes, seeing.
Can you close your PowerPoint so maybe we can see it bigger?
Sorry, goodness, you don't need to see that. Yeah, see, they say learn, discover, explore, grow, and then they have the library. So we're embracing our new strategic plan.
Very good.
I know always Victoria go beyond her work and do things. Same with her presentation or anything that is presented to us. Thank you, Victoria.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Claps.
We have a little bit of time, and I think I'm going to hold off on the comment cards so we can look at them in person next month, I hope, if things go well. And they'll probably be a little easier to read off the card than off the PDF where they didn't scan too well. And I wanted to bring up the bylaws again real quickly. And we may punt this another month again, but I hope not. Did everybody have a chance to take a look? I know last month Kathleen proposed having the vice chair be the formal liaison to the Friends or possibly the foundation. And I think that's a good idea still. And I hope we'll be able to discuss it a little tonight. And I also want to go back to the original reason I brought this up, which is that in our bylaws, which you have now recently read, I trust, the chair is delegated a lot of responsibilities, and the vice chair currently only has the responsibility of filling in the chair's absence. And so going forward, when we will have new people in the positions in calendar 2022, it would be nice to both give the chair a little less to do and to give the vice chair some more authority. So comments on that?
I would like to bring up, and I know that this is a way bigger topic than you were hoping to get into, John, but when I was looking at the bylaws, I sent everybody an email today. There is a lot that we receive as library board members from the library, and we as basically the community audience, I think that we could be doing more for the library, like as the board. So I sent an email out today with something that was missing from the bylaws that we received. There was and talking with the director about this subsection of the code. And so that subsection of the code I included in the email. So that is something that I would like to talk about at some point, is what exactly is the role of the board in response to those issues in the code also.
I'm glad you brought it up, and I agree that we should be doing more, and it's something that I had brought up before. I know not even all the NACs are meeting right now, and I don't know how many of you regularly attend NAC meetings, but I think it's incumbent on us as board members to, at the very least, be doing that when they are meeting, whether virtually or in person. And you know, and I'll admit I don't do it regularly, but I do go occasionally, and I'm always asked what's going on at the library, and obviously I always have a good answer. And you know, it was particularly helpful, I think, before the WCCLS levy, when I was able to talk about a whole bunch of good stuff that was happening at that time and then bring that up, which worked very well, and I didn't have to be in that lobbyist mode. So I think that was very helpful. We've talked a lot about being more involved in the budget process, and then the pandemic hit and derailed that. But I very much hope next year's chair is very active, and that as many board members as possible will participate, attend the appropriate budget committee meetings, come armed with data, be ready to make a case.
That is
what else do you want to say on that, since nobody else is chiming in?
Oh, that's an excellent point about the neighborhood meetings. That's something that I've wanted to do and haven't. So thank you for the recommendation.
So, thoughts on the bylaws?
Yeah, so the bylaws that you sent us were very much like, here's how the board is conducted, and here are the officers, and here's the makeup of the board. And I think it was missing kind of the soul or the purpose of the board. And I do think that it would be important for us as a group to decide or to discover what our purpose is, because we do get just this wealth of information about what's going on in the library and what's going on, and how can we then go on and be advocates for the library in our community.
Well, that is discussed in our mission statement, which we revisited.
Right, but how often do we do it?
Well, I brought it up when we started talking more about how it said we needed to be involved in the budget process, and we reviewed. I think that was the only area listed in there that we really weren't involved in, that it said we should be. And that probably is the most important thing. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. And if you are chair next year, I hope you will continue to pursue that. Maybe review the mission statement again. And, you know, we will just be, I mean, if things go well anyway, back to meeting in person regularly at that point, and library will be open regular, normal type hours again, and things will be getting back to normal. And so that's really the best time to approach that, I think. Would you like to make your motion again, or do we want to save that for another meeting? And again, I'll bring up that we need some time before a change can happen, because the city council would have to approve any change.
No, I don't want to bring it up again at this time.
Okay. So we'll hold off on that. I will bring it up probably one more time in hope that we can do something, because I think it will help all of you. I mean, as I said, one of you will be chair next year, one of you will be vice chair, and I want to make it better for you. I mean, that's really all I'm looking at. It doesn't matter to me. I have no agenda here. I won't be here. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I also have one more year. so I'm just waiting for others to decide on that.
But Sarah, you could be an officer next year.
Sure, John.
So I think it is important to you, because you could be chair or vice chair next year. And your seniority makes you a good candidate.
I will try.
So, you know, do think about that, because some of you will have a lot of years left. All right, anybody have anything else you'd like to bring up before we say good night? And let poor Andrew go to a cooler place. All right, on that note, I wish everybody a chance to stay cool. Go to the library if you have to find another place to cool off. And what's our next date, Kristen?
Our next date is Wednesday, September the 8th.
September the 8th, so that's
yeah,
right.
and I think the plan is, as much as we can plan anything, that would be an in-person and hybrid meeting. So meeting the second floor of the library in the administrative conference room, where Victoria is right now. You can get a preview for those of you who haven't been up to that room yet.
I recognize that.
Yeah, so that's the plan. But as we all have learned, plans can change. So, but we'll be in communication.
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
So one other thing I wanted to ask too, we talked about orientations for the new members and alternates. Have we, I forgot where we are on that.
Yeah, so we had talked about once capacity was back up at the library, and right now there is no capacity. So that is certainly something that we can plan for and do for new members who feel comfortable coming into the library and who would like that. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That'd be good.
So I will reach out to anybody who would want to come, and see if we can schedule that. It probably wouldn't happen until, I would say, at least mid-September. Just like Victoria mentioned, August is a time of a bunch of vacations. So if we wanted to do it like we did it last time, which I thought was great, have some of the managers or supervisors on site to walk y'all through their parts of the library. So it might be a little while, but yeah, we'd love to do that. We'd love to get y'all in the building and show you around. Super fun.
Good. And you've been through the city orientation, right? You did that online?
Yes.
So, okay, good. And normally there's a in-library orientation too, like how you sign in as a volunteer on the computer, and just some basic things. So we need to get all that covered too. I'm just trying to tie up loose ends and pieces. Okay, I'll let everybody go. Stay cool, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you next month. I call the meeting adjourned at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.